When you're used to dating disasters, you start convincing yourself that little safety nets will make things easier. That's the excuse I gave myself when I decided to bring my friend Mia to my first date with Alex. I told myself it was about safety, that it was better to have someone around in case he turned out to be a creep. But deep down it wasn't about safety. It was about control. I wanted to impress Mia, to show her that I could pull a guy like Alex, and at the same time, I didn't want to feel nervous if the date went south. The problem is, when you treat a man like a prop on your stage, he's not going to play along. I met Alex through a mutual friend at a birthday party. He wasn't the loudest guy in the room, but he had this quiet confidence that made people lean in when he spoke. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with this easy smile that made you feel like he was actually listening. When he asked for my number, I felt a rush of excitement I hadn't felt in months. We texted back and forth for a week, and when he suggested dinner at a new Italian spot downtown, I agreed instantly. But then my insecurity started whispering. What if he didn't like me in person? What if I ran out of things to say? What if I embarrassed myself? That's when I told Mia, half-jokingly, that she should come along. Mia didn't hesitate. You know what, that could actually be fun, she said. I'll pretend I just happened to be there, and if he's lame, we'll bail together. I laughed, relieved. I told myself it wasn't a big deal. People bring friends all the time, right? Except they don't. Not on a first date. The night of the date, I spent nearly 2 hours getting ready. Hair curled, dressed just tight enough to show effort but not desperation, heels that clicked confidently against the floor. Mia showed up in jeans and a crop top, casual but cute, and I realized too late that she looked more approachable than I did. That thought stuck with me as we Ubered downtown. By the time we got to the restaurant, I was buzzing with nerves. Alex was already there, seated at a table by the window. When he saw me, he smiled and stood, pulling out my chair. Then his eyes shifted to Mia. He looked confused, but polite. Oh hey, he said, glancing at me like maybe Mia was just walking us in. I forced a laugh. Oh, this is my friend Mia. She's joining us tonight. The air shifted instantly. He paused, gave me this little look, and then sat back down. All right, he said smoothly. The more the merrier. His tone was calm, but there was something underneath it, something I didn't want to acknowledge. Mia, oblivious, started chatting right away, asking about the menu, complimenting the decor. Alex was polite, but I noticed his eyes flicking between us, as though he was trying to decide whether this was a joke. When the waiter came, Alex ordered a steak and a glass of red wine. I got pasta, Mia got pizza, and we all started this awkward small talk. Or rather, Mia and I did. Alex was quiet. He asked me a few questions. About my work, about my family. But every time I started to answer, Mia would jump in, adding her own comments, making jokes, turning the conversation toward herself. I laughed too loudly, tried too hard to prove I wasn't nervous, but it was obvious Alex wasn't impressed. At one point Mia leaned over and whispered, "He's cute, but kind of serious, huh?" I shushed her, but not before Alex caught the exchange. His eyebrow raised slightly and he sipped his wine silent. The more he withdrew, the harder I tried to fill the space. I teased him about being quiet, made a couple of sarcastic remarks, and even nudged Mia to back me up. He just looked at me, this calm, steady gaze that made my stomach twist. Finally, the food came, and I thought maybe the awkwardness would ease. But then the bill arrived. The waiter set it neatly in the center of the table. Alex picked it up, glanced at it, and then placed down enough cash to cover his meal and his wine. Exactly, down to the tip. Then he stood. I blinked at him. "Oh. Are you splitting it?" I asked, laughing nervously. He looked at me, not unkindly, but with this finality in his eyes. "No," he said. "I'm paying for my meal." "Yours, that's on you." He looked at Mia briefly. "And hers." My face burned. "Wait. You're not serious?" I stammered. He smiled, not cruelly, but with this kind of amused disbelief. "You invited a friend to our first date." "That wasn't a date. That was dinner with 2 strangers. I don't pay for strangers." Then, without another word, he put on his jacket, gave me a polite nod and walked out. The silence at the table was deafening. Mia looked at me, wide-eyed, half trying not to laugh. "Wow. He's intense," she said. But deep down, I knew she wasn't judging him. She was judging me. Everyone would. Because the truth is, Alex was right. I turned a first date into a spectacle, into some kind of joke, and he refused to play along. He didn't argue, didn't make a scene. He just walked away. And that hurt more than if he had yelled. I paid the bill, furious and humiliated. The entire cab ride home, Mia kept trying to console me. Don't worry about it, he's probably controlling. You dodged a bullet. But the words rang hollow. Because I couldn't stop replaying the way he looked at me when he stood up. Not angry. Just disappointed. Like I had confirmed something he already suspected. That I wasn't serious, that I wasn't worth his time. Over the next few days I texted him. Apologies, explanations, jokes to lighten the mood. He didn't reply. After the third day of silence, I checked his social media. He hadn't blocked me, but I saw pictures of him at a bar with friends, laughing, relaxed. One of the women in the group was leaning into him, smiling. My stomach twisted. I knew he was already moving on. It's been months since that night, and I still cringe every time I think about it. I told myself I brought Mia for safety, but the truth is uglier. I brought her because I wanted to control the situation, to keep my pride intact if the date went badly. Instead, I sabotaged myself. Alex wasn't the type of man who needed games, and I made myself look childish before we even had a chance. Now, whenever someone mentions dating etiquette, I feel my face flush. Because I know I'm the story Alex probably tells his friends. The girl who brought a friend on their first date and got left with the bill. And the worst part? He was right to leave. He showed me exactly who he was. A man who refuses to be disrespected, who won't waste his time on someone who treats him like a prop. And I showed him exactly who I was. Insecure, immature, and unworthy of the kind of man he was. I can laugh about it with Mia now, but deep down the shame still lingers. Because the truth is, if I had just gone alone, if I had trusted myself, maybe things would have been different. Instead, I ruined my own chance before it even began. And Alex? He walked away with his dignity intact, while I was left paying for more than just the meal.